Hello everyone, this is Flora again. Yes, new week. Time flies all the time. So welcome to Fabulous Accounting Solutions. This week I will talk about JobKeeper, Cash Flow Boost, and the JobSeeker. So let's go for that now. So we can see here, I'm coming from Fabulous Accounting Solutions. So today we talk about cash flow boost for employers, JobKeeper, and JobSeeker. That's all part of the COVID-19 stimulus package. Fortunately, we have to think about who qualifies this. As an qualified entity, you must be an employer throughout March to September 2020, have aggregated annual turnover of less than 50 million, have an ABN registered as at 12th of March 2020, make supplies for GST purpose. Then we need to go to say what's the cash boost. So for each qualifying entity has two cash boosts, called the first one and the second one. The first one for monthly activate statement lodger, they will receive 4 installments, March, April, May, and June. For quarterly lodgers, they will receive 2 installments at the end of March and end of June. The second cash boost will give you another additional 2 installments for quarterly ledger and another 4 installments for monthly ledgers. What's the minimum and maximum cash boost the qualifying entity can get? So for each qualifying entity, they can get minimum 10K for each cash boost. That's totally they can get 20K. That's the minimum amount. The maximum, that's 50K for each cash boost, because totally we can get 2 cash flow boosts. So that's totally maximum can be up to 100K in total. That's amazing, is it? So because we are focused on small to medium-sized business, and most of this kind of business only need to register the quarterly reporting basis. So that's why I gave you the example for quarterly basis. So if you are a quarterly lodgers, so look into this. End of March, after you lodge your March base, you can get the credit, the grade of 10K or the total PYG withheld amount you lodged in March base. And at the end of June, once you lodge the June base, you can automatically get the same amount credit as what you lodged in June base for PYG withheld, or you can get the balance up to 50K. That's the maximum amount we can get for the first cash boost. So that's why you only can get the balance up to that one. That's the maximum we can get during that period of time. So at the second boost, you can get the June base credit again. That amount should be the 50 of the total amount of the first boost amount. That's the same case for September base. So let's say an example, because if you just look at this, maybe still have no idea. So maybe we need to give some example to say the figures straight away, and then you can get better understanding. So here is an example. So for quarterly withholders, if for March base you lodge the PAYG withheld amount was 8,000, then you can get 10K credit during that of time, because the minimum you can get for the first cash boost, that's a 10K, and obviously 8,000 less than 10K, so that's why you can get 10K instead of 8K. And at the end of June, once you lodge the June base, you can get exact same amount for that period, PAYG withholding. So that's 8,000. In this case, totally you can get 18K for the first cash boost credit. And for the second cash boost credit, you can receive 50% for June and September quarter. So that's why that's 18K divided by 2, that's 9K for each installment. So that's amazing, right? During special, once you lodge the June bus, you can get 2 credits. One 8K, another one that's half of the first cash boost credit amount, that's 9K. So you can get 2 installments once you lodge the June bus. So you need to be prepared to lodge June bus. Yeah, as quick as you lodge, you can get the credit quickly. Yeah. And another good thing is the boosts, including the first and second, all the boosts, cash boost credits are totally tax-free. That's amazing. That's a really good benefit you can get. So then, now we move to the JobKeeper. Federal government gave the JobKeeper payments. Basically, it's flat amount, 1,500 for each employer. For each eligible employee or eligible business participants per fortnight from 30th of March. That's 1 month ago. Yeah, to help businesses to keep paying employees, because the government care of us, care of all these businesses. So that's why they would like to help us, help the businesses, especially for the small businesses affected by COVID-19. The 13th fortnight program from starting from 30th of March to 27th of September 2020. The first payment is backdated to 30th of March. But employers must pay a minimum of the same amount, 1,500 per fortnight, to the eligible employees before 8th of May 2020 for the first 2 transitional fortnights. Who will be the eligible employer and all employees? Firstly, you must be the person who was engaged at 1st of March 2020. That means you have to get paid from the business on or before 1st of March 2020. That means that, in other words, you were the employee before, not from now on. That's from that day, 1st of March. Also, you have to be 16 years older and to be employed as a full-time, part-time, long-term cashiers. That means have to be the cashier employee over 12 months. you still down after that day, or you rehired. No. Of course, you have to agree to be nominated as an eligible employee for the purpose of JobKeeper scheme. You must be an Australian tax resident, Australian citizen, permanent resident, or New Zealand subclass 444 visa holder. You can't be receiving the same JobKeeper payments from another employer at the same time. Otherwise, you're too greedy, is it? Also, the business must meet the Australian GST turnover decline requirements. For turnover up to 1 billion business, you have to drop turnover at least 30%, comparing with the same month or quarter in 2020. That's last year, same period of time in last year. Business should enroll and claim online with ATO or business portal and start paying the minimum 1,500 per eligible employee before tax withheld. Sorry, this word have something missing, so that's withheld. Okay, I added it on. So only one business participant can be enrolled per business entity. So if you are the business owner, if you got a few owners, only one business participant can enroll for this one, except the other owners are employees. Cash flow boost and enroll in JobKeeper scheme timing eligibility. This is a very important part because a lot of businesses missing lodge their 2019 tax return. Sometimes they missing to lodge their BAS from 1st July 2018. So in this case, basically they can't get any cash flow boost payments or JobKeeper scheme enrollment. However, the good news is the Commissioner will likely allow further time to provide notice that business income or supplies were made where a business had a pre-existing lodgement referral in place, such as through the tax agent lodgement program or the deferrals for taxpayers affected by the recent bushfires. So that's a good news. Maybe you can get exception for the timing requirements, and then you can enroll later when the ATO made their discretions. So now we move to the JobKeeper Q&A part. That's all the cases I was facing when my clients ask me all the time. So I just list all the most popular questions here to help you have better understanding for the JobKeeper payments. Firstly, the turnover includes, what's the turnover? The turnover including taxable supplies, GST-free supplies, but not for any input taxed supplies. And also, you must to remember, get rid of GST because the turnover, that's a net GST amount. So when you calculating your turnover dropping percentage, remember to less GST amount from the sales amount. Somebody asked me what's the input taxed supplies. So just like some interest from financial institutions like some rental income. That's all input tax supplies. So you shouldn't include any of this. Second question. Eligibility can be arised at any time between the 4 months commencing from 20th March to 27th of September. So don't need to worry about March. You can't meet the turnover dropping percentage. If you can meet in later months during that period of time, you still can enroll for that from that time. So the ATO still can give you JobKeeper payments once you meet that turnover dropping percentage requirements. The third question, employees unpaid leave or unpaid leave, if they can get JobKeeper payments, the answer is yes, they are qualified. Fourthly, so for only one entity can be entitled for the same individual. That means one individual cannot get more than 1, 2, or more JobKeeper payments from different employers, because some employees maybe got 2 or more part-time jobs from 2 or more employers, but they only can get one JobKeeper payments from one employers. They can't get the same JobKeeper payments from different employers. Otherwise, you are too greedy, right? So the difference between 1,500 and actual pre-tax earnings must be passed on to the employee, which can be called a top-up payment. So all the JobKeeper payments you received as an employer, you received from government, you have to fully pass to the employee. You can't keep the gap. Even your employee didn't get that much normally, but you have to pay your employee same amount as 1,500 fortnightly. So the gap we can call as a top-up payments. You can show that item top-up payments in the employees payroll payslip. They pay in your payroll system and put down in their payslips. JobKeeper is paid monthly in arrears by ATO, so all the employers have to pay upfront and at the end of the month. Once you finish your monthly reporting, ATO will know your situation and they can pay you back. So that's monthly in arrears. Account received JobKeeper payments. This amount you receive, that's accessible income, but you can get the same amount tax deduction when you pass to the eligible employees. So wouldn't affect your net profit at the end of the financial year. So you wouldn't have any tax burden on this. JobKeeper is not included in turnover and it's not subject to GST. It's only subject to PAYG withholding. So you may need to withhold some tax for your employees. When received, it must be reported to Services Australia. If income support payments may also apply to any of the employees. So if you are an employee, for example, you were stood down by your employer and you meet all the requirements and you receive the income support from Centrelink called JobSeeker. And after that, your employer would like to rehire you and you can get the JobKeeper payments from government, you can't have these two allowance at the same time. You have to report central link you receive the JobKeeper. We can talk this in more details later before I finish my presentation today. But just let you know, that's accessible income. You have to let central link know you got the new payments, so you annual income increased by this. What's the one in all in rule? That means an employer must include all the eligible employees if the employees choose to participate. You can't get rid of that. Yeah, the only thing you can cross out their name because they wouldn't like to be nominated. Then you can cross their name. Otherwise, you have to include all eligible employees if they choose to be nominated. Still-down employees are eligible if they are re-employed. So if you still down somebody and now you want, because the government would like to pay the employee by JobKeeper allowance, and then you decide to rehire them, and these still down employees still eligible for this scheme, so you can apply for that. If you are self-employed, you can't be a permanent employee of any other employer if you want to enroll for the JobKeeper allowance. I know a lot of permanent full-time or part-time employees of some other companies. They are running their own business like a sole trader at home as well at the same time. So unfortunately, even yourself sole trader business dropping GST turnover dropping over 30%, unfortunately, you still can't apply for this because you got a permanent job from other employer. You are not an eligible person for this. Now we move to JobSeeker. So that's the last topic for today. If you would like to apply for JobSeeker, you need to meet all of this. You are between 22 and the pension age. If you don't know what's your pension age, you can check Google search and check central link. So basically, you must over at least 65 years old. Must over 65. So otherwise, yeah, you can't get the age pension. You meet residence rules. You have to stay in Australia. You can't be overseas at this time if you want to apply for JobSeeker. You have to meet the income and the assets test. The good news is at this COVID-19 special time, the personal income cap has been increased temporarily from 27th of April 2020, and the assets test has been waived. So more people will be eligible for the JobSeeker allowance. Also, you have to meet either of these two situations. You meet central link definition of unemployed and you are looking for a job, or you are sick or injured and are unable to do your usual work or study for a short time. That's a conditions if you would like to apply JobSeeker allowance from central link. A lot of clients ask me why they received JobSeeker payments when they stood down from work, and the former employer rehired them. So what they can do? Can they get the two at the same time? However, the JobKeeper payments is treated as ordinary income for the purpose of Social Security payments. You must therefore report your change in circumstances to Services Australia. That's a central link. If you are receiving income support, including the JobSeeker payment, you may also need to cancel your JobSeeker payment. If you don't report the income or cancel your JobSeeker payment, you may incur a debt that you will be required to pay back by Centrelink. You can withdraw your claim or cancel your payment using your Centrelink online account through my.gov.au or the Express Plus Centrelink app. Okay, that's most of this for today. Now I would like to let you know, as a sole trader, you can choose to either, if you don't have other jobs and your turnover dropping over 30%, you can choose to either select to get JobKeeper allowance or JobSeeker allowance. By the way, although JobKeeper gave you 1,500 fortnightly, but JobSeeker only gave you 1,100 fortnightly, even though they double up from before. Before that's 550 fortnight, and now it's double up. That's 1,100 fortnightly. So if you meet both requirements for JobKeeper and JobSeeker, I would suggest you to enroll for JobKeeper because you can get 400 more each fortnight. Okay, hope everyone have a really good evening by end of the week, and I will see you next week. And if you want to find me, I'm Flora at Fabulous Accounting Solutions, so you can find me from there. Don't forget to subscribe my channel if you want to know more about Australian taxation, accounting, business, investments. See you next time for next week. Bye bye.